the keys to take over. Let me go up here and do the thing about the stuff. Let's do that. Make you the host. You're in charge now. You're the captain now. If anybody's seen that movie, great movie. Well, I guess it depends on
Look
how
at
you
me.
feel. I'm going to give you a random suggestion. I don't know why I'm doing this now because it'll be way out of date when it finally happens. If you have Netflix and you are looking for something to watch, it is called Black Rabbit.
Oh,
It's
I already watched it. It's amazing. Did
oh
you watch
my!
Ozark?
I finished it last night. It is fantastic.
Oh, so
Yeah,
good. I
it's
thought the
it.
ending could have been better. They wrapped it up a little sappy, but the show was still amazing overall.
I wanted the ending to be a little happier, a little more romantic. It was not. Anyway, not
Yeah.
to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, fantastic. Jason Bateman is amazing. Amaze
Yeah, he's
balls.
so good.
Okay.
All right, kids, have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so this is really weird. I can't see you, I can't see me, so I'm just gonna go. If you guys have questions or comments, interrupt because I will just keep going. This is essentially what I've done for 13 years. I've been on the admin side. I am a licensed agent. I've been licensed twice, and every time I get licensed, I remember that I'm much more comfortable behind a desk and hiding behind paperwork. So this is kind of the place I'm most comfortable. So I could probably go on for hours, or I can get this done in a half an hour. So it's going to go one of two ways, but interrupt, ask questions, because I will just keep going. So I will try to use the slideshow or the little slide thing as best I can and not just talk. All right, so you're on the second to last class. That's amazing. Good job. I always train new agents and I encourage them to attend these classes because it's so cool to hear from different people at our market center. So I don't know who's been teaching this session, all of these sessions, but I'm sure you've heard some great things.
Yeah, we've had somebody different every time, and that's been one of the best parts of it,
I
is
love
hearing
that. I
everybody's
love,
stories. Yeah.
yeah, you just learn so much. So that's pretty cool. If you want the workbook, this is where you'll scan it. I have notes, so if you see me looking down, it's because I printed this and tried to jot some things down so I stay somewhat focused. It's not a strong suit of mine. All right, so moving on. Today's agenda. So have any of you, I don't even know how many people are on here, I'm not gonna look. How many of you have had closings? Have you had any? Are you just brand new? I don't know where everyone's at.
None as an agent.
Okay. So you're probably learning through all of these classes, and if you've been to contracts classes, there's a lot of steps and there's particular orders that you need to follow to make sure that, you stay out of trouble, you keep the contract going, and everything is good at the end. So we're going to talk about the timelines a little bit. We'll talk about best practices and things to avoid, the liability the best that you can. I feel like we're in a sue culture right now, so it's, very important to do that. We'll talk about how to get referrals and reviews at the end. We'll talk about follow-up, ahas, and then daily success habits. Real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's a strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. So that is very true. I would say my best advice is when you get that first one under contract, it's going to be your baby and you're going to be focused on it so much, but don't put all of your time so that you stop planting the seeds and building the other business. So hopefully today we can kind of do some best practices so you can be doing both. Okay, so keeping track of deadlines in a contract. That is probably the most important part of when you go under contract. I think, yeah, here we go. So you write that offer, you go and look at houses, you write a few offers, you finally get that one accepted. If you guys have been going to contracts classes, you've been learning about effective date. So this is contract acceptance. That's the effective date in New Hampshire and Maine. So essentially that's when both parties have signed, the contract's been delivered, and everyone is notified that you are officially under contract. So that is the date that everything works off of. So if you have 3 days for EMD, 7 days for inspection, 5 days to make application, that date is how you're getting all those days. So this is saying September 2nd is contract acceptance. Say they have to have the EMD in 3 days. That's the 5th because you count out. So it's 3rd, 4th, 5th. Day 1 starts the next day. It's important if you're going to be licensed in different states to understand the different contract rules around that. I'm not going to really get into that. But Maine and New Hampshire are complete opposite. One is calendar and one is business. So just understanding how you're keeping track of those days and those timelines is really important. So this is kind of a cool visual that you could create for yourself once you go under contract and just write it down visually. There's some really good email templates. I don't think this includes it. I could certainly send you one if you wanted. But just emailing, your buyer or your seller and the co-broke agent the important dates. So you're all on the same page. You're going to encounter agents in this business that don't have the training that we have, and they might not understand how to count the effective date. They might think, some people you'll see when you receive an offer, the effective date is filled out. So it's important that you make sure that at the beginning, you're all on the same page and you all are working off of the same dates. It can especially get tricky if a contract is returned late at night, because then there's some discretion, the effective date's today, but we didn't see it till the morning. Like, just have those discussions, have open dialogue with your co-broke. Essentially, you guys are going to work together to get this to the closing table, and having that open and clear communication at the beginning is extremely important. Okay, so who was involved in a transaction? You don't have to, I feel like that's listed somewhere. You don't have to sit down and write this. This is designed to be like in person with a lot of people. So some of these activities we'll kind of skip. But the people that are kind of involved in the transaction. So who's going to help the buyer? You're going to have the lender, you have the person at the title company, their insurance agents, their movers, family members, that sort of thing. And for a seller, there's going to be the appraiser on that side, still the title company. There's inspector for the buyer. I don't think I listed that. There might be movers again, contractors if they have to get stuff fixed. So just kind of understanding all of the people that are involved, all the people you might have to talk to, and again, clear communication. That's going to be the part that if you ever have a transaction that seems to go south, it's going to be lack of communication and clear expectations. That's always what it comes down to. I feel like that's in life too. If someone's mad, it's because they didn't understand. And at the end of the day, it's always our fault, even if it's not. So just understanding that. All right, so you're under contract, you have those dates written down, you understand them. Now you really have to, we're gonna cover the buyer side first. Now you really just have to sit down and think, what is the first thing that my buyer is gonna need? What do they need to know and what do they need to do? What do I need to know and what do I need to do? And what is the rest of the team, meaning the other agent, inspector, lender, what do they need to know? What do they need to take action on and when? And what am I doing each point to bulletproof the transaction to set myself and my buyers up for a successful close? So, especially at the beginning, it's so important to sit down and just break this up into bite-sized things and understand each step, because once one thing kind of gets out of control, it just can spiral. So the EMD and making application, if they're doing financing, are probably the two quickest things that come up for the buyer. Primarily, you'll see 3 to 5 days for the EMD to be delivered. Having those discussions with the buyer as you're writing the contract of, listen, we're putting an escrow deposit down. How much can you come up with? Talk about, depending on what market you're in. We just came out of a market where higher deposits were really important. We might be going into a market where they might not be, because the seller might not have any other offer, so they might take whatever. But having those discussions, what are you comfortable with? Understanding that this deposit is, due right away. This is not a down payment that's coming in 30, 45, 90 days, whatever. So having those discussions and then saying, like, when this goes, say they accept our offer today, are you able to get me the check or get this check in the mail to be delivered to, say, North Conway within 3 days? We all know that the mail has been really slow. So having the discussion of, hey, we have Deposit Link. It's a $15 fee. It might even be $18. I'm not sure. It's a fee. However, that's going to get there immediately. We're not having to worry about rushing around on your busy weekend. Say they have kids in sports. But setting those expectations, because say this is a multiple offer situation, they don't get their EMD in 3 days, they're out of contract. So that's a huge thing that you need to discuss with them. And I would discuss that as you're writing it, because if you write EMD $10,000 due within 3 days, personal check, and you deposit link it, you're technically not in contract. Compliance has kicked that back for me. So if you have an agent on the other side that's super savvy and they know you wrote personal check and you're asking to do deposit link and they get an offer that's better, they could potentially kick your deal out. So that's why, yes, these are fill in the blank contracts. Every blank matters. Everything you write in matters. So having a discussion with your buyer, what are you more comfortable with? You want to mail it, that's great. I think we should probably do 5 days. 3 days is a little rushed. It's Friday, whatever. Say there's a holiday. So that's huge. Getting in contact with that lender right away, sending that contract right over so they know they need to call that buyer. They need to go to their office and make that formal application if they haven't already. I often see 5 days to make application. This is on used to be page 4. I don't even know what it is now since the contract's 6 pages. So that's a huge thing, making sure that that lender knows. If it's important for your buyer to use a certain title company, I often will send the executed contract to the lender and I will CC the title company that they want it to go to. And I will make sure to tell the lender in that email, when everything is ready, please send title order to blank. Lenders will take control of this if they don't know who you want to use. Lenders and title companies are very close and they'll just send it to their buddy. So you're going to especially learn that the more you do deals, that there are certain title companies that you trust, and you're having those discussions probably with your buyer at that consultation of, I work with a great team. I always work with Brad Kelly. I always work with Jenny Kopp, whoever it is. They're going to trust you to know that. Always give the 3 names, because you don't want to, have the liability of, well, you told me this guy was the best. But you can explain why. Like, these are some great people I've worked with. I tend to send everyone to Brad Kelly because I know his team's going to take care of us. They're right in the building. I know he works nights and weekends, whatever it is. So telling that lender right off the bat, I want this to go to Jenny Kopp. So that you do that right away. And just kind of understanding, like, what are the things that need to be taken care of right now? Any questions so far? Like, I'm just throwing a lot at you. Okay. So here is kind of the buyer timeline. So we talked about the earnest money, EMD, inspections. If you have a short inspection period, say it's 7 days, 5 days. I mean, some of these were getting so out of hand the last few years. It was like 3 days. You can't even get an inspector. So now there's a little bit more time, but understanding that there's still maybe a seller in that house. There's still a listing agent that has to be available. So once you get that inspection scheduled, let them know immediately so that they can check with that seller. They can check their schedule. They can get coverage, whatever it is. Again, you can very well call and be like, we have this, inspection scheduled for tomorrow at 9. And you have every right to do that as long as you've given ample notice, all of that. But at the end of the day, you still want to have a great relationship with this co-broke. So calling you and be like, hey, the buyer scheduled this for tomorrow at 9. How does that work? Like, don't be a pushover, but also just don't be rude. Like, there's going to be a fine line, and you're going to find that as you start to converse with more co-brokes, and you're going to learn personalities, and you're going to know the ones you have to butter up, and you're going to know the ones that you have to be stern with to get your point across. Just learn that balance and just kind of watch your tone. Do as much voice to voice as you can. Always follow up with an email, but so that they hear, like, you know, they hear your intent, they hear your tone, because text and email can get misconstrued, and then you have animosity that doesn't need to exist. What I will say is there will be deals where there is going to be some tension. Your most important job as a real estate agent in this situation is that your clients never know that tension exists. Same with if there's tension on your client side, that co-broke doesn't need to know that that exists. You're the filter, you're kind of the punching bag. There's gonna be times when everyone's mad. As long as the other people don't know, that's good, because you want this to close. Pride gets in the way, and everyone wants to win in this society these days. And they'll fight over $5, but they have to win. So you have to figure out how to finesse everything so that it gets to the closing table and everyone pays $250 instead of someone paying $5 and someone getting $5. Like, whatever you have to do, just do it, and just make sure no one kind of knows all of the negative. All right, so you've informed them of the inspection. Now you're going to have the inspection. It's important to understand your contracts in whatever state you're licensed in, and understanding when you have to respond by, because that is different in New Hampshire and Maine, and Massachusetts I don't even know. So understanding those dates. So, you know, kind of write those down. Once you know when your inspection is scheduled, kind of have an idea of, okay, like in New Hampshire, you have 5 days to respond. So once you get that report or whatever, you know you have those days, and keep track on the other end, because then they have time on their end as well. So kind of keeping those dates in mind. The inspection reports you'll usually get pretty quick. So making sure you're scheduling out time to talk to that buyer and go to your inspections, because depending on who they hire, you could have an alarmist where everything's a big deal. You're kind of there to help talk them through it. And, oh, I've seen that on an inspection before. I've done that at my own house before. Obviously, you're not giving like, that only costs $5. You're always going to be the source of the source, never the source. However, you can kind of be easing their minds a little bit as the inspectors, you know, making them very nervous. There's going to be an appraisal if there is financing. So just kind of asking, you know, if you haven't heard, just checking in with the lender, you know, when is that due? Because you have to watch your financial contingency date as well, and making sure that you're going to get all that back in time. And if not, you're going to have to extend that. And then towards the end, you're going to schedule that final walkthrough. That's on the first page of the contract. You specify how many hours before closing that you will be able to do the final walkthrough, and you'll see the home in broom swept condition. Depending on the situation, it really doesn't make sense to do it 2 days ahead of time if they're still living there and they aren't having their movers come till a couple hours before closing. Like, kind of figure out in the situation what makes the most sense. If it's vacant, you can probably do it the night before and not be rushing to closing. If it's not, might have to do it the morning before. You'll figure that out. All right, so interaction points, communication of deadlines. You're going to communicate at the beginning when you do your little timeline. You're going to communicate it as it's coming up. So, you know, making sure, hey, I did send you the deposit link. Have you filled that out? Or, hey, did you put that check in the mail? It's due tomorrow. Checking in with the other side. Did you receive it? That sort of thing. You're going to communicate the contract to the other parties, such as title and lending. We talked about sending it to the lender, CCing title. So if it's a cash transaction, you send the contract directly to the title company yourself. When it is a financed transaction. Title companies can be different. Like I said, CC the title company when you send it to the lender. Some will start everything, some won't. Like I worked in title for a little bit. I would print that email and I would kind of know what was coming, but we didn't start anything until we had the official lender title order. So just kind of understanding that, like, don't be calling up the title company like, you don't even have the search done. Sometimes they're waiting on the lender, and lenders will send title orders, you know, at different times in their process as well. Some won't do it till after the appraisal. Some do it after they've made application. So, you know, just ask your lenders and your title companies, how do you do this? Because then you know what to set expectations to the buyer. You're not going to hear from the title company for a few weeks, or you're going to hear from them tomorrow, because they need to fill out all of those forms. Communication of a list or lists of recommended title companies, inspectors, and insurance agents. I think we're probably getting back into the days of buyer consultations, which I'm sure you guys discussed in an earlier class. That's when you kind of talk about your team of people, you know, who you work with. And we have a lot of really great options through Keller Williams. So always start with them. If you haven't met with them, I would email them all, set up lunch, talk about what they do and why they should be on your list of companies. Scheduling and communication with inspectors and listing agents. We talked about that. Sending amendments or inspection reports to other side title and lending. So when you have an addendum of any sort, that needs to be sent to the lender and the title company, assuming that you're not putting stuff like personal property, all the things that they tell us the contracts not to do. Don't send those ones and don't do them, because that's, I forget what they call it. Anyway, if you change a date, if you change a price, if you change any of the terms that are going to affect the deal, the other side, like lending and title, have to know that, because a lot of times we'll change, you know, dates and we forget to tell everybody, and they're still working off a specific date. Contracts are on or before a closing date. So if you move up the closing date, you do not have to do an addendum. I have seen people do it in the past only because if you don't do it, the other side could still use that original closing date. So if you don't do one, everyone wants to work, you know, we all want to close next Wednesday. Everyone knows that. Just make sure you communicate that with title and lending, because they're going to be going off that date on the contract until they're told otherwise. Additional questions to ask yourself: when am I reminding the buyers to not make big purchases? That's going to be kind of more of the lender, but you can discuss that at the, you know, the consultation and like first showings and stuff, but you're going to want to be working with a lender that's having those discussions with them. And that obviously affects their financing if they make a big purchase, debt to income, that sort of thing. When am I communicating when to set up utilities and how to do it? So that can be something, there's definitely periods of time in the transaction where it's slow for you because title's doing their thing and the lender's doing their thing. So this could be a good time that you're reaching out to the seller agent and saying, hey, can I have a list of the utility providers? A lot of times, like, electric is going to be the same. If it's natural gas, it's going to be the same. Oil and propane, unless they own the tank, like, you can use whoever you want. But sometimes they have some different, you know, people that they're sending along. So you can ask to do that. Then you're going to send that to the buyer, just letting them know that they're going to have to call these companies and they're going to have to set up service for the day of the closing. And then keeping in mind, if that date closes, reminding them, hey, don't forget to call Eversource back because closing's delayed a week, that sort of thing. Am I communicating notice of any holidays that may delay the process? So looking at the calendar, like I said, when you're making that timeline, because effective days will get switched based on a holiday, and then just understanding, like, it could just delay, you know, EMD or just people's process in general. Title companies aren't going to be open. Lenders not going to be open. Inspectors might not be open, that sort of thing. How do I negotiate the inspection report and when am I communicating this information? So when you get the report, you're going to look through it on your own. You're going to set up that time with the buyer to review it with them. Ask them, are there any things that stand out to you that are something that you want to try to negotiate? obviously you got to look at the market at the time, and that's going to help you figure out how to best guide them. And if they're in a multiple offer situation, at the end of the day, you're there to advise them and you're there to do what they want, but reminding them that they could have backup offers. And you can ask the listing agent if they do, and then you'll know how to best advise them in that situation. And you're communicating the information based on the amount of days you have left before you have to respond. And when do I touch base with lender, title company, or listing agent? So I'd say at least on a weekly basis for lender and title, just to make sure, do you have everything you need? Is the buyer getting you everything they need? For the title company, I'll even go as far as making sure the other side is getting them everything they need, because if the seller hasn't filled out their mortgage payoff information, that could delay closing. So understanding like, no, I haven't actually received the payoff from the seller. You could call the listing agent and be like, hey, are you able to call your seller? Because the title company just mentioned they still need this. So that is a time that you can reach out. And the listing agent, just stay in communication. Are there things the seller is supposed to be working on? Are they supposed to be making repairs? Were there big items of furniture that were of concern? Like say they have a huge piano on the 3rd floor. Your buyer doesn't want it. It's not in the contract to stay. Calling, hey, have you found someone to move that piano? That sort of thing. Just stay in communication. All right, documentation points. So is this an active communication or a document? To whom or from whom is the document going? What is the best pathway for communicating, sending the document to the responsible party, email, phone, text, DocuSign? What is the plan for follow-up after a document has been sent to the responsible party? Are there templates for that I can use to create or save effort to streamline communication across transactions? So I can think like if it's an addendum, you know where it needs to go. If it's sometimes if they're doing FHA, there's going to be a mandatory clause that everyone needs to sign, like just making sure once you've signed, once your buyer signed and you've sent to the listing agent, like set a reminder to follow up in the next day or two. Hey, did you and the seller sign this? And did you send it back to the lender? Or can you send it back to me and I will? Like just kind of everything that happens, just track it. Track where it went. Where is it going? Was it going to someone that was supposed to send it to someone else? Just make sure that they did. Because at the end of the day, you all want this to close. So even if it's not your job, it is, because to get this to close is the most important. So this is saying there's some consideration points. What do you think? It says add a D. I don't know what this is talking about. Okay, we're gonna go to the next one. Again, feel free to use this, change it up. I don't know why it's putting this back on us. Oh, it says a D if there's a document involved. So earnest money, so when you get the check, so say when you're the buyer's agent, say for some reason you're holding escrow, so the buyer just delivers you the check. Make sure you send a copy of that check to the listing agent. That way they know you have it and they have it for their file. The same, say your buyer mails it directly to the listing agent. Make sure you're following up. Hey, can I have a copy of that check when you receive it? Have you received it? That sort of thing. When you send the inspection response, that's going to probably be an addendum, unless they're just saying that it's all good, then it'll be the release of standard contingencies. So making sure that that document has been signed by all. I don't know what the D is for final walkthrough. There's no document for that. All right, seller. So I will say, when you have the seller side of a transaction, it does kind of feel quieter at times because you're kind of waiting to have everyone else do all of their things. So it can, sometimes you feel like you're missing something. There's a lot more paperwork up front because you have to do your commission statement. If you're holding escrow, you have to do the escrow release form and make sure that you release that. But outside of that, it kind of just feels like you're waiting. You're waiting to figure out, oh, I found a typo right here. I always find typos. You're waiting to figure out when the inspection is. You're waiting to find out when the appraisal is, that sort of thing. And So I'm always like nervous during a seller side transaction because I just feel like I'm missing something. Okay. So we're gonna ask ourselves the same things. What is the first thing my seller needs? What do my sellers need to know and to do? What do I need to know and to do? What does the rest of the team, co-op agent, inspector, lender need to know to take action on, and when? What am I doing at each point to bulletproof the transaction and set myself and my sellers up for a successful close? So the first thing that the seller needs is probably a copy of the contract, and then you are going to need to update them on, the same list of dates. So send them the same template. This is when we're expected to receive the EMD. This is when they have to do the inspection by. This is when, their financial contingency. This is the walkthrough, or this is when they can do the walkthrough, and this is the closing. So, and you're going to let them know that, they have 7 days to do the inspection and respond. So, expect that in the next 7 days, probably 5, because you want to give them time to respond. And then again, like, were there terms of the contract that require them to move things? Were there terms of the contract that required them to fix things, add things, whatever? Just making sure that you've explained that when you went through the contract with them, and now you're following up with them to make sure that it gets done. Say they are hoarders, and this house is expected to be empty and in broom swept condition. The buyer did not notate that they could leave anything. You're going to have to really be on that seller to make sure it gets done, because a lot of times people are hoarders because of the overwhelm of all of the stuff. It doesn't get easier when they only have 30 days. So offering them, do you need help with a clean out company? Do you need help finding a dumpster? We have connections to both through Keller Williams. So just staying on top of them, but as a resource, not as someone like, don't forget you have to have this house clean. Like, they've known that probably for like the last 20 years. They're not like unaware of the situation. So just explaining to them that you're there to help them and ask what they need, and continuing to follow it to make sure it's happening. Because I don't know about you, but I've been to final walkthroughs as the listing agent, and the house is not cleaned out. And then it is an expensive problem, because now Declan or Leah or whoever has to drop what they're doing, and you better believe there's a fee added to that when they have to come and clean it out with 1 hour's notice. And sometimes that fee falls on you, or you're going to help pay for it with the other agent, because that's just what we do sometimes. So set that expectation early so that you don't have to do that. And then just kind of know your client. So when this says, know what I am doing at each point to bulletproof the transaction and set myself and my sellers, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what happened. Did I lose you guys? Because my screen just like went black. Hopefully not. I see you
No, we're
guys.
still good. You're
Okay,
good.
good. I don't know what just happened. Oh, so when you're setting yourself up for bulletproofing it, understand your client and understand the things that throughout the process have set them, or had them on edge, and be there at those steps. So for the hoarder, it's going to be the clean out. For the person that's wanted more money out of the deposit but you couldn't get it, like, we have the deposit, like letting them know when you have that money, because they're going to fixate on certain things, and you're going to learn that through getting to know them. Those are the things you want to get ahead of. Again, we talked about communication and expectations at the beginning, and that's going to be the biggest thing. And if you can talk to them before they have to call you, that's going to be key. And that's for any of this. That's for, when you have a new buyer, new seller, anything, you should be telling them what to expect before they pick up the phone and go, well, what's next? So that's a huge way that you can bulletproof. Okay. So seller timeline. A little bit different on the listing side is now you have the listing, so you need to make sure that you mark it in MLS as active under contract or pending. So there is a difference between the two, and agents get this wrong a lot. So if it's active under contract, that means that you are continuing to show it. It's weird because in NARN, when you put active under contract, it says continue to show. Well, yes, because it's active under contract. I don't know if you hit no, if it makes you change it to pending. But anyway, pending means you're not showing it. So you need to have that discussion with your seller. We have this great offer. We're under contract. Do you want to still continue to show the property in the case of a backup, in the case that this falls through? Some are like, nope, I don't want anyone else in my house. I hated this. No, market pending, absolutely not. And then that helps you as a buyer's agent on the other end. When you see a property, if it's active under contract, you know that you could still set up a showing for your buyer. Pending, no. So you're going to get that seller or the inspection. You're going to call your seller. You're going to make sure that's fine. You're going to be there. It's very important to be there because same thing we talked about before. You could have an inspector that's an alarmist. You could have a buyer's agent that doesn't know how to control them, doesn't know how to control their client. All of a sudden you get this addendum that's 30 pages long and they want every single thing fixed. If you were there, you could understand it. You could have that discussion with the buyer of, I did overhear, these things. I did also hear that he said, that these can be pretty inexpensive fixes, whatever. You can kind of know going into it how bad it really was. Because again, we can't control the rest of the situation. You can only control what you know and your client at that point. So you're going to discuss that with your seller. You're going to send the inspection response to the buyer's agent or whatever. You're going to counter, you're going to accept, you're going to say no, move on, whatever. Say they all in agreement, great. Make sure if there are repairs that the sellers agreed to do, or if there are things that they said they were going to do and they were going to provide receipt, make sure that that happens. Because a lot of times seller will be like, yep, I'll get a licensed plumber, I'll get a whatever. And then you find out that his Uncle Jimmy came and did it and there's no receipt. Well, the addendum specifically says license, whatever, receipt to be provided prior to closing. Now you don't have a receipt. So making sure you're having those discussions when you're presenting this, that's kind of the downside of all of this electronic signature stuff, is the conversation isn't happening. We're just sending stuff over and they're signing and they're not reading it. I don't know if you've had to fill out any paperwork. Once you sign something, it skips to the next page. You have to like actively scroll back up and read it slowly. So depending on your type of client, if you have an engineer, don't worry, they've read it. But if you have anybody else, they're just signing. They have stuff to do. They're on their phone. They can't even read it. So making sure you're explaining, listen, we're fixing this toilet, but it has to be a plumber and we have to provide the receipt. Say they're like, no, my dad's a plumber. Have that discussion before you sign it. Hey, we're going to scratch the receipt because it's his father. He has his own plumbing company. He has all the credentials, and have that discussion. They can say yes, they can say no, but just be transparent about that. Not like, oh, I don't have a receipt. It could be a problem. You don't know. They could have had toilet issues at their last house, and it's something they're super careful about. So just understanding that. This is talking about send the seller a low appraisal response. Let's not put that in the atmosphere. It's all going to appraise and it's all going to be great. But say it's not. Usually the buyer is going to just come right to you and say, hey, this appraised $15,000 lower. We want to reduce the price. This is a negotiation point. Not everything has to just go to that. They're depending on their type of financing, that sort of thing. They could bring money to the table. If it's not that low, or say this was your only offer, your seller might be like, this is great. But this is another point that open communication is going to be huge. Closer to closing, the title company is going to send you an Alta or a HUD, depending on if it's financed or cash. Make sure you're reviewing that. Make sure that your commission information is correct. This is going to be on both sides. Say when you went under contract as the buyer's agent, or when you were showing it, you would ask for 2.5. It's in the contract. They agreed. Just making sure that that's what made it to the Alta statement. As the listing agent, you're going to actually be sending the commission statement. You're going to specify how much your company is getting paid and the other company is getting paid. If you go in the DocuSign templates, commission statement is one of the templates in there. Just fill it out, send it over. Another document, if you are holding escrow, this goes for either side. There's an escrow release form also in those templates. You're going to fill that out. the escrow gets released to the title company. So if Atlas Title is the company, when it says check to be made payable, it's Atlas. So making sure that you're doing that in a timely fashion. So another thing that you need to make sure your seller understands is broom swept condition. So that literally means broom swept. It doesn't mean completely spotless, but it doesn't mean that you can leave a bunch of, you know, dog fur, cat fur, or whatever once you move that couch last second. Like take the broom, get rid of the dust bunnies, and then you can leave. It's often that you see a lot of things left behind because people, you know, these domino closings are tough because they are, you know, moving that same day. And it can be tough, but they need to just figure it out because that's what they agreed to. So everything's removed. Is something supposed to be staying? Did something get written into the contract or discussed on the side and there's a bill of sale? Making sure that, you know, don't forget you're leaving the big TV upstairs. That sort of thing. Have those discussions. So interaction and communication points. So communicating those deadlines at the beginning and throughout, communication of contract to other parties, giving that to the buyer's agent. You're not really, as the seller side, sending the contract to anybody. The lender will send it to title or the buyer's agent. So if the seller has an attorney on their side that they're having prepare the deed, you might send it to them, and having those discussions ahead of time. You know, the title company, you know, primarily does prepare the deed. Is that something that you want? Do you have a family attorney you'd like to do that? The title company will also ask that. Communication of a list of recommended contractors, movers, cleaners. So assessing the situation at the beginning and figuring out what they need and giving that to them at the beginning. Send contract to title company. No, you're not going to really be doing that on the listing side. Scheduling communication with inspectors and buyer's agent. They're going to do that and let you know. And then making sure that you're getting stuff signed in a timely fashion, addendum, that sort of thing. And then understanding, is this communication or a document? We kind of talked about that before. Not much is really different on this side. And okay, so on the seller side, I'm skipping this, sorry. Okay, we already talked about when we send everything. That's not really different. It's just you're waiting on someone else usually before you send the document and making sure, again, you're tracking it. Did that get signed by the buyer? Did this get sent to you? No matter what side of the deal you're on, it's all your job. I'll hear that all the time. Like, let's move closing. Okay, well, it's your job to write the addendum. It's really not. The contract's between the buyer and seller. Nowhere does it say a buyer's agent writes this or a listing agent writes this. Either one of you can write it, figure it out amongst yourselves, who has the time, and just get it done. So opportunities is a system we use to track our current and potential transactions. Command gives you the ability to customize your opportunity pipelines to allow you to track your transactions in a way that makes sense for your business. So I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people use Command and they use the opportunities literally at the very end when they're about to get paid. I don't. I use it exactly how it's presented here. So whenever Darlene or any of our agents sets an appointment with a listing, a buyer, or a landlord, because we do a lot of rentals, I create that opportunity right away and I keep it in Cultivate or Appointment, depending on if she set the appointment or not. It's also, you kind of have to create the opportunity in order to access the paperwork if you're doing it in DocuSign. I know some people are still in .loop. For now, I think that's fine. I just like to have it all in one place. It tracks the volume, it tracks, you know, the average time that each transaction sits in each thing. You have to obviously use it at a high level and remember when it goes from Cultivate to Appointment to Active, that sort of thing. You have to be moving it in order for that to calculate. I just like to see it all in one place. It's nice if you have any downtime to just go in and click through each of these and make sure, oh my gosh, I didn't follow up with John Smith, or I was trying to set that appointment. Then you had something go under contract and you forget. And it seems crazy where you're at right now because you're at very beginning, I think, of your careers. And you can't possibly like even imagine forgetting people, because I know like I recently got licensed and I would have like those 2 leads. And during Bold, I like called these 2 people seriously every day because I needed contacts. And if they didn't answer, I would call them again because I was like, please answer. So you will get to a point that like your most important lead that you are following up with all the time, all of a sudden you forget about him. Like it will happen. You get to that point in your business that other things just take over and you're like, oh my God. So having that in a place like this where you can click it and see it, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't follow up with him. And then you can set that appointment, move it along, that sort of thing. It's important once you get any of the documents signed that you upload them in here and submit to compliance. They get really busy, especially during busy season. And if you have a quick closing and you upload it all and you need that money, but they haven't checked any of your folders, that's going to kind of put you at the bottom of the list, and that stinks because you're not getting paid if it's not through compliance. It's also important to have that stuff ahead of time, because say you submitted all the day of closing and the lead paint was done incorrectly. Now you have to show up to the closing with your tail between your legs and be like, can you initial this? You don't want to do that. Do it at the beginning so you have the next couple weeks to get stuff sorted out, fixed, re-signed, whatever. So it's great for that. And then I don't remember if this goes through like the commissions tab and all that, but once you have the opportunity, there's, the commission, there's documents and then there's commissions. That's where you enter how you're getting paid. So say you're on a team, you have to add like your team split. If you are giving a referral, you have to add that sort of thing. So that's all done within there. And it's nice to do that early too. That way you have time to figure all that out. Okay. So next one is ahas. Does anyone have any ahas so far? No. Okay. Next, risk avoidance. So this is how we try to not get sued. So communication clearly and often with everyone involved in that step of the transaction. So I think we really covered all of this. Set expectations up front, maintain your professionalism throughout. So you can't over communicate. You can't over talk to people. Oh, someone's writing in the chat, I think. The difference between under contract and pending was an aha. Yeah. Yep. It's an aha for a lot of people still in the business that have been in it for decades. So that's good. See, I'm teaching you young. But you can't over communicate. You really can't. And I know that there's certain things that's tough, and I see it all the time. Trust me, I've been in this 13 years. There's phone calls you don't want to make. There's things you don't want to tell people. So you're worried they're going to get mad. But the longer you don't tell people and the longer you wait, the more mad people are going to get. Either they're going to be mad either way, say you're calling a seller to tell them that it was $50,000 under. They're going to be mad either way. Just call. Get it done. Because if you don't, and you wait a day or two, now the buyer's mad, buyer's agent's mad, the lender's mad, everyone's mad. So just make the call, get it over with, explain. At the end of the day, like, it's very emotional for everybody, but it is business, and just present the facts. Like it just is what it is. Stay professional, which can be very difficult depending on who you're dealing with. There's a lot of agents in this business. A lot of them do not work here. So it can get tricky. You can't stoop to that level. And again, you're the filter of the deal. No one needs to know that the listing agent just called and chewed you out. They just don't. Like, the buyer doesn't need to know that, because to them, it's that nice, friendly lady at the showing and at the inspection that, was wearing a cute golden retriever sweatshirt and you talked about your dogs. Like, that's all they know. And at the end of the day, that's all they need to know. They do not need to know that she just said something mean. So do your best to if you need to vent to your team leader, vent to Tim, vent to your broker, vent to your spouse, vent to your dog, your cat. I don't care. Do not vent to your client. Do not vent to another agent in the deal, out of the deal. again, we are designated agents, so you can't really talk about your deal unless it's your team leader or the broker. And ethically, you can't really talk about other agents. So it can be really tough. Trust me, I have a list in my head. Okay, so, oh my gosh, here we go. Risk avoidance, be proactive. So again, looking at that timeline and being proactive and understanding all of the things that the seller is going to be upset about, buyer's going to be upset about, or wondering or confused or whatever. Where is the deal at risk of falling apart? So that can be you're gonna have this big colorful list by the end of this, and put red when it's like this could be a deal breaker. EMD is late. I thought I'd written notes somewhere. EMD could be late. They don't respond to the inspection quickly, or the inspection in general falls through, low appraisal, whatever. Figuring out what all those things could be and what are the best practices to keep that deal alive. So talking about that EMD up front, you know, how is it getting delivered so that it's not late? Inspections, talking to them. Hey guys, we're going to the inspection today. You have Daryl Justin from House Investors. We have hired him to literally tell you everything wrong with the house. His only job today is to tell you all the things wrong. He's gonna go, whoa, look at how amazing this is. That's what he's there for. He's there to tell you it's wrong. He's there to inspect it and tell you, hey, these things need to be addressed. You need to set that expectation at the beginning. Listen, these don't all have to be done tomorrow. He might tell us that there are some safety issues. We are here to figure out, you know, that this is structurally sound, that it is safe, and all of the things. But he is basically giving you a honey-do list, and set that expectation up front. So that way, say you don't have Daryl, say you have, I'm not going to name names. I've had an inspector get out of the car. It was an out-of-state buyer. He looked at it. He didn't even, like, I'm telling you, his car's here. He's right here. He looks at it, see him calling, don't buy it, hung up, got back in his car and walked away. Like, you can't really help that, but you've said to the buyer before, he's here to, you know, find all the things wrong. That guy just didn't want to go in. Anyway, that did close to a nice young couple later on, not that buyer, she backed out. But it happens. You can't control that inspector, but you can control how they're going into it. You can control them at the moment and after. So do your best to do that. Okay, this says late deposit, after home inspection, after appraisal, during the option period, does not exist here. Making sure I'm not missing anything that KW said I should go over. Again, communicating quickly and effectively about any issue that may pop up. And again, client expectations about the process and cost. Just make sure they understand all of that up front. Be the fiduciary. Always act in your client's best interest, even when it seems to conflict with your own. Yeah, it's your job. It's your job. And sometimes it can stink when you have a client that is unrealistic. Especially, I don't know about you guys. I don't know. I can't see who's on here. People have popped on that have done some transactions, but writing a lowball offer in a multiple offer situation and stands out to me as something that can really stink, but you're there to explain, and then you're there to do what your client asks. And in this situation, act in your client's best interest, even when it seems to conflict with your own. Like, don't get commission breath. That's a huge thing I think happens in this business. It can be really tough going from deal to deal, especially if there are not a lot at one time. Say you have $1 million house under contract and house is falling apart, but your client is looking to you to tell you what to do. If it's in their best interest, say they're a 90-year-old woman and they can't fix things, they have no extra money, like, you need to advise them, like, these are the, you know, the inspection report showed that this is gonna fall apart next week. Like, if she's this cute little old lady that's gonna do what you tell her to do, you kind of have to not worry about the fact that you're gonna be walking away from $25,000, because little Rose needs your advice and needs you to, you know, help her through it. Yeah, some deals just should not close. So an inspection comes back with severe issues and your client can't afford to fix Or it could endanger your client's health or safety when a clear title cannot be reasonably guaranteed. So you just have to kind of be there to help be their sounding board on that and not worry about the money. The money always comes when you're not focused on it. Just be the best agent you can be for your client, and it happens. It just does. You can't focus on that. The second you focus on that, you've lost. Okay, future opportunity. We're almost done. I work downtown Dover, so it could be anybody. Future opportunity, repeat, and referral business. So take advantage of all the opportunities to earn your unfair share. So repeat business. Do a great job. They're going to use you again. Making sure you're staying in touch with them after is huge. But if you're doing an amazing deal or job on the deal, then they're probably going to use you again. Not every deal is going to be easy, and sometimes there's nothing you can do to fix that. There's difficult people. It just happens, but it's how you deal with it that your client's going to remember. So again, you're the filter, but like sometimes like just everything goes wrong. And even if you're filtering that, like it's not easy, but if you deal with it well and you help them through it, they're still going to remember that you did an awesome job. So don't feel like, oh my God, I screwed this up. You probably didn't, but they're going to remember that. Okay. Referral business. So having the discussion with your clients throughout the process that this is a referral business, you get your business through their referrals. So asking, can you share a review, a client review? Can you talk about the process at the end? Can you tag me in a post when you announce your new home or that it's sold? Whatever you want to do, if your social media is big for you, or ask, do you have any friends or family that are looking to move? Have any neighbors mentioned, oh, I might want to sell my house too, that sort of thing. Having those discussions all along. So this says ask for referrals at every conversation. That's the admin in me probably. There's probably agents that are amazing at that. I can't even fathom how at every conversation I could ask for a referral. So I'm probably not the best person to teach on that. However, I'm sure you could find a script on the KWCLM hub for that. Throughout the transaction with buyer or seller. Yeah, just having those discussions throughout. And at the close of the transaction, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, it was so great to work with you. I'm so excited that we found your dream home. Thank you so much for trusting me. I know it took 6 months, a year, whatever. I know it's been some really tough times the last couple of years. So some of you might have been working with buyers for years. So thank you for trusting me. My business runs completely on the referrals of my past clients, friends, and family. Do you have any people in your life that might be looking to make a move? Whatever. Just talk. Business relies on referrals. If you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, I'd be so grateful if you could let me know. Another one is I would appreciate the opportunity to help your friends and family members buy or sell their homes. I intend to build a relationship of trust between us so that when you think of real estate, you think of me. If you wouldn't mind, please tag me on social media at any time one of your friends posts about needing real estate agents. That's a huge one. We see that all the time. My algorithm must just focus on real estate because I see a lot of those posts. I'm going to offer you an amazing service for you to refer me to your friends and family. If you don't, I'm going to feel I did something wrong and would need to talk to you about it and do better. Some of these are just funky. Just, you know what to say. And look to fill your funnel with client referrals in the lead generation series for more. Okay, next. Didn't we already talk about this? Okay, I think we already did this one, but we're repeating. I talked about different reviews you can ask for at Google, Zillow, Realtor.com, and Facebook. I think you should create an entire touch campaign and smart plan based on getting the reviews, because I know I get links and stuff to do reviews, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that later, and I never do. So just reminding people, you can put together incentives for people to give you a review, $5 gift card. Say there's a new local business or a local business that you love, getting gift cards to them to send to your clients. Like I'm always thinking, how can I benefit one to help myself, but help others? Like, how do you work in, like, Dunkin's is great, but like, why wouldn't you do a new coffee shop or a small coffee shop or something like that? Just figuring out, because then you're building a relationship with that small business, because you're going to go in and you're going to buy $100 worth of gift cards. Like, you don't think they're going to be like, wow, that's amazing that she's doing that for me. Okay. Smart plans, we just talked about that. So I don't know if you guys know, but you can actually go, when you're in smart plans, go to library, you can search anything. There's like thousands of smart plans already in there, and you can copy them and edit them, but that way you're not starting from scratch. That can be really cool. If you're on a team though, I think that team leader has to add it to theirs in order to give you access. I've had trouble on mine with that in the past, so I might have to ask KT about that. But there's some really, really good smart plans already created that you can use. Make sure you have a 36 touch for all of your past clients, all the people in your sphere. That's essentially just reminding you to talk to these people 36 times a year. Phone call, text, email, gifts of service. A lot of times people just do 4 events a year, once a quarter. So you're inviting them, you're reminding them, you're seeing them at the event, or you're calling them after to say, sorry, I missed you, or thanks for coming. So that's like literally 5 every quarter. That's 20 right there. Like, that's crazy. Okay. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes for a minute. What would you find helpful in the first year of owning a new home and like to get from your agent? What would bring value to your life and ownership? So, housewarming gift that showed that they showed that they know me. Any document to help with my taxes, referrals to contractors, introductions to dentists, stylists, mechanics, gyms, etc. if they're new to the area, acknowledgement of my buying anniversary, care calls, equity updates and updates on neighborhood sales, notice of upcoming community events, that sort of thing. So I think in the next page, somewhere it said you should start focusing on doing this, like the equity stuff, within 5 to 7 years. I would do it. Oh yeah, it says 6 to 7 years after they buy. I don't agree with that. I think you should be doing this not like right off the bat, but within a year. I feel like there's tons of job relocation. We have a lot of military around here. There's a lot of people don't come here and stay all the time. So letting them know your house went up this much money, that could help them. Also, they could end up wanting to refinance depending on what their rate was and invest in something. You should always be having discussions about the importance of investing with your clients. So you could say that to them. Like, once you have enough equity, I think we should talk about that duplex. We should talk about that 4-unit, whatever it looks like. Lake home, whatever. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. And watching the market too. If the market gradually is decreasing, maybe that's not when we check in. But if you note it, like if they bought and then the next year the prices spiked like they did in COVID, you should definitely be letting them know. Like, wow, did you see what happened? Okay, let's say a seller moves away from your area. Do you just take them out of your touch plan? No. What can you stay in contact with them about? General acknowledgement of birthdays and holidays, tax documents again, a gift of something they liked from where they used to live, like a particular type of coffee or ornament of a local interest, updates on neighborhood area changes or celebrations if they were long-term residents. Also, I think it's important for you to be letting your networks know that you can refer an agent anywhere in the world. So don't just lose contact with these people. Plus, they might still have contacts here. So you still want to be the name that they give out. Okay. Co-agent follow-up. So you guys know we have profit share here at Keller Williams. So if you had a great relationship with that co-op, like do lunch after and just, it doesn't even have to come from a place of like, I want to recruit you, but like keep that relationship going. Because one thing I always advise new agents to do is when you're first licensed, or right now, I don't know how long you guys have been licensed, but go to open houses all weekend. Go in different areas, the areas you want to work in, the areas you think you're going to work in, because business relationships and co-agent relationships are very, very, very important in this business. So if you're the guy that always comes to their open house and you're always friendly, they're going to remember that. Like they're going to get multiple offers one day and Jeffrey Gray's going to be on the top because they remembered you. And it's subconscious because we're absolutely can't present offers better than others, but in their tone, and they're going to know, like, I trust this guy. He always showed up. He started covering showings for me. He's covered a couple open houses for me, that sort of stuff. Like just build these relationships for more than just your downline. And then what ends up happening is you keep talking to them, you keep doing lunch, you go to a networking thing, you go to an event with them, whatever. And all of a sudden, you know, they have a rough day and they call and they're like, can we sit down and talk about Keller Williams? Like, it just happened. So don't force it. Build genuine relationships with people that you do business with, and it just helps. Any ahas so far on any of that, or any questions as well?
Hey, Delaney.
Hi,
It's
how are
Sue.
you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I didn't know you were here. That would have made me much more nervous this whole time.
At me? Oh God, no. Yeah, no. I will only say like one sentence because I could go on this topic forever. But I'm probably never going to let this concept go until I see it happening a lot. We were talking about going to other people's open houses. Try to go, like if you're just out doing errands or something and you see an open house, stop by. Like it
Yes.
doesn't matter if it's our company or somebody
Yes.
else's. You get to meet the person. And then there's another factor about it too. Actually, I guess there are two things. You're not there to solicit buyers. That's not ethical, nor is that cool. And there'll be a call to the broker within about 10 seconds from the other agent. But stop by and see if they need anything. Hey, you're here for a couple hours. I'm out doing a couple errands. Do you want a cup of coffee? I mean, don't be schmarmy about it, but just like if you have time to go grab them a cup of coffee, that might save their day. And also, I think it's most important. And I know guys sometimes think, well, oh no, I would never need that. Yeah, well, attacks and things on male agents are just as prevalent as female. Ask the agent, even if you don't know them really, like, hey, are you everything okay? Do you especially if you notice somebody that looks a little funny, in the air, like acting funny, I guess is a better way to say it. But you don't know if somebody at that open house has been there for like an hour and a half and is acting a little odd, and that agent might be super uncomfortable. Just ask, do you want me to stay around for a little bit? You'll be surprised. There are yeses to that sometimes. So just ask, and they're never, this isn't the reason to do it. We all need to help keep each other safe, but they'll never forget that you did that. And they might do it the following Saturday, and then somebody else might do it. It's really important. And I would love to see that happening more often. And now I'll be quiet because like I said, I could talk about 5 hours on the whole safety factor, but you do an amazing job. So thank you for being here.
I'll kind of piggyback that, Sue. So I, again, as being a new agent, but like there was it kind of worked out in favor for my kids, honestly. But like I went to an open house in my neighborhood. It was like kind of a quick one. It wasn't even really listed. It was, but it just kind of popped up. So I was like, oh, I'll drop in. I'd love to see that house. It's like one of the nicer houses in our neighborhood. And I ended up running into parents and kids from my kids' school that had transferred out of that school that I haven't seen in a while. And like they were really good friends with my kids in school. So like we started talking and they ended up buying the house. So like I have a feeling like I'm gonna take credit for that. I joked to the agent later, I'm like, I should get a referral from you because I definitely just helped you sell this house. But even like something like that, you never know what's gonna happen. And now like I've got some goodwill with another agent just for helping them sell a house.
Right, because you handled that appropriately. Just be really careful to skate that very carefully, because if the listing agent is thinking that you're trying to sway some buyers to you, that's going to go.
No, yeah, I was very upfront with her. I was like, they're great people, like, awesome. And then she's actually going to sell their other house. So like I literally just said to her, I was like, hey, like, I'm not trying to get your business. Like, I actually just want my kids to be able to play with you guys again. So here, like,
Yeah, no, you
like
handled
call
it
me if
like
you guys move into the neighborhood. Like, this is a great neighborhood. Like, you guys will love it.
you handled it absolutely. You should teach the class on how not to swoop in on other people's, because you handled it perfectly. We have all been doing our own open houses and seen agents not understanding that line. You handled that perfectly, and that's great. That agent will never forget you.
We've also
Yep.
bought 2 houses from her too. So it's I have a very,
That's awesome.
I've got a really like entangled relationship with her now.
Well,
Wow.
good. Now get her over to KW and you're all
Well,
set.
that'd be tough to do. She's, yeah, I don't know about that one, but we'll see.
Talk to Jen Vashon, and she'll help you with that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, open houses, we're coming into the time, I don't know about you guys, but I've hosted a few recently where I've been the only one, or I've had the nosy neighbors. So it's a good time to be checking in at these open houses just to say hey and maybe keep them company. Also, like, I'm the hot mess mom that shows up with like the 3 balloons, 2 of them are popped. I forgot my coffee on the counter, forgot my breakfast on the counter. So if you walked in and offered me a cup of coffee, I'd probably give you all the unwrapped fires. So that's a really good idea. I love that. And again, it goes back to we work together. Like, we don't need to have these rough relationships with agents on the other side. And I don't know where that started, but when I came here 13 years ago, like, that wasn't the case. So I just think there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the business. And I just think in human nature in general, I think COVID did some stuff to the psyche of humans. So let's get back to being friends with our co-agents, because how much better is a deal when you and the other agent get along? Like, it's just, Sue, I know you can speak to that. You've probably done a deal where you didn't and a deal where you did, and it makes a world of a difference for everybody. So I think I love that coffee thing. I'm going to do that this weekend. That's awesome. Love
I
that.
think you have to clamp down when there's attitude or something. There's something just not like the other agent is acting.
Yeah.
Things can be going along perfectly, but then there's some attitude.
Mhm.
First, I will say, have grace. We have
Yes.
no idea what's happening in other people's lives. I had a situation, it was years ago, but an agent was being super difficult on a very clean, smooth transaction. And I noticed that I was repeating the same things kind of over and over, and emails and texts and phones. And it occurred to me one day, I'm like, oh my God, this is not her being difficult. She had a spectacular reputation, had been a long-term agent, super sweet, very dynamic in the community. And the light bulb went off. I remember I was driving on Route 128, which is not a great place to be thinking about other things. But, it occurred to me, I'm like, you know what? This is dramatically different than she's been in the past. So I asked her one day, I said, are you okay? I just called her out of the blue and I said, are you okay? And she was a little snippy with me, and it wasn't her. I'm not recommending do this. Talk to our brokers first, but I actually did call her broker, and the broker kind of assumed that I was complaining about her. And I said, no, please hear me out for just a moment. I'm not looking for any information. It's not my business. I am concerned. There's a dramatic personality shift, and it's not normal. And I don't want to know anything. I'm just letting you know that I'm concerned. About 6 weeks later, I learned the pre-Alzheimer's situation had been diagnosed, and she died not that long after. So have grace and don't always attack, because we don't know when there's something else going on, but at least address it at the beginning.
Yes.
So that it doesn't start affecting you and your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So very true. I love that. Thank you. That's really sad, but that's so nice of you to take
Well,
that
I
extra
need
step.
my own advice sometimes when there's something stupid going on, like, talk to Heaney. He'll tell you. Talk to Westcott Heaney. He'll be like, oh yeah, Doyle was all wound up about something the other day. Nobody's perfect, but I do try to remember that situation. Like, just have grace. And I guess as Nathan and all of our brokers will say, try, I know try is not a word here, but add water to the fire instead of gas. And I'm going to take that as my own personal advice to carry through as well, because I need it.
Right. We all do. Okay, so I think we're kind of wrapping up. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in relationship with me. It's just a random slide, but I mean, it's true. It says, turn to someone close to you and say this affirming message out loud to the other person. Just a random slide, but I like this. Again, we talked about don't focus on the money, talk about how you're helping other people, and things will happen for you. If you ever have questions, these are places that you can go to get help. I bet you here you can probably get help with opportunities if anything comes up when you are in that phase of your business. And successes. Are there any successes anyone wants to celebrate? I think honestly, some of these slides got put in from other classes, so I don't know. I think this was for the lead gen class because I'm looking at my notes. The last few slides were not part of this class, but still, I love celebrating success. So does anyone have anything that's happened the last day, week, month, anything in your agent journey you want to share?
I'll go. So I just not gonna lie, it's been a rough month or so, like especially as a new agent, kind of as the market slows down and trying to generate leads and find people. But I just kind of trusted the system, and I've got a buyer consultation next Friday.
Awesome.
Just from a random text message I sent to somebody I used to work with, just kind of
Great.
reaching out because I haven't heard from him in a while. And then also just a couple random Facebook messages turned into real estate conversations, and I have leads for 6 to 12 months down the road already. So I got basically a buyer and 2 leads within 2 days of just kind of buying into the process, which is sometimes difficult because you go weeks without anything and all of a sudden you just get hit with a bunch. So I mean, just
Yes.
I guess that's my thing, just stick to the process and trust it. And it's if it didn't work, there wouldn't be so many people that worked here. So
Exactly. It's just the consistency, and it can get hard when you're, not seeing the success, but it takes so many no's to get to a yes. And the more you do it, it's less no's to get to that yes. So yeah, just keep going. That's awesome. The pipeline, everyone wants the right now stuff, but the 6 to 12 month stuff that's the bread and butter. It's just fostering that and nurturing that and just keep putting those in there. And then all of a sudden you have a very healthy, thriving business. So that's awesome. Great job. Anyone else?
Can I just throw a piece in?
Yes.
Go to Tim Lindsay's 1 o'clock every day, except
Yes.
for, there's a couple of days here and there, like when there's all partners meeting because it overlaps and all that. 1 o'clock virtually every day, unless he's called out to, a meeting somewhere or whatever. I've heard that newer agents, especially, not to target any group, it could be all of us, but if there are questions about how many calls you made in the last 24 hours, things like that, it's not a contest.
Mm-mm.
Do you know how many times I've reported in 0 across the board? I've been kicking around here for 15 years. It's okay. Nobody's criticizing. It's not a contest.
Right.
Some
It's
agents
just
will say
accountability. Yeah.
it is. And you know what? If you're not having a great day, I just lost somebody really close to me. Not having a great day. I tuned in. By the end of it, it was like, all right, let's come on. You can handle all the tough stuff. Just get back in gear. And it boosts you back up. So just go. He sends a text out to remind you.
Mhm.
And it's really uplifting. And even if you have nothing to report, that's okay. I'll probably be in there with you.
Right. I would add to that, go to Fight Club every day too, 9 to 11. It's essentially, you're just sitting on Zoom, but you're not going to be sitting there eating bonbons while everyone around you is making phone calls. You just feel the energy of everyone else doing it and you do it. It holds you to the 2 hours of lead gen you're supposed to be doing anyway. And then at 1 o'clock you go and you talk about you know, what you did, the activities. So I think that's great. I always say anytime you can spend with Tim, do it. He is remarkable. We are so lucky to have him. So anytime you can go with him, make sure you're doing your one-on-ones, do the group coaching, do the midday protocol every day. I have been horrible at it just because we've been so busy with work, but sometimes I just like to go on and listen. Like I have nothing to report because I didn't agent that day. I'm just adminning, but the nuggets that he gives you, they're so great. So I completely agree with Sue. There's no bad day when Tim's around. So do that. The most
And if
you
I
guys
could
can.
listen in on everything, I mean, sometimes I'm sitting down
Mhm.
and,
Right.
taking notes and all that.
Yes.
There are times I'm on Route 128 in rush hour traffic listening to stuff.
Yes.
So you can put it on your phone. I mean, try not to be distracted by it and all those things. But a lot of people are like, oh, I wasn't available. I was driving to North Conway. Well, you were available. You were driving to North Conway.
Yeah.
So
Just
don't
listen.
forget our
Yeah.
phones. You can
Mhm.
log right in. It's super easy.
A lot of times it's the same stuff. None of this is groundbreaking. Like make your calls, call your people, check on your people. Like it's the same stuff. So you don't have to be sitting taking diligent notes every single time. Like she said, just listen. It's just reminding you what we're here for. We're here to help people. It requires time, effort, and consistency. So it's just the reminders constantly. So
We probably know what we should be doing, but I will raise my hand as a prime person in the office that needs a kick in the face on a daily basis. So it's
we
okay.
all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
Join in the
Okay,
kick in the
so
face club.
yeah. All right. So your next session is on Monday. You're going to be discussing goals in your future. So kind of be thinking about what your big goals are going to be, because I'm sure that's going to come up. Business planning clinics, the registrations for those have started to come out. So make sure you are signed up for one of those. Those are with Tim. Fantastic. I'm doing the one in York. I love that one. I think it's December 18th. It's the last one, but it's always great. Just you're planning your next year. So that will piggyback well on Monday's session. And I'm all done unless you guys have any questions. I feel like I need a nap now. I'm tired. This is a lot of talking.
No, it's good. Thank you.
Right, paperwork. I think at 11 o'clock I saw that they're doing the Nate isms, and it's Adam Dow today. So try to pop on, I think it's the Facebook page for that at 11. Anytime with Adam Dow is incredible. He used to teach the marketing class of Ignite, and I would take it every single time. He's fantastic, obviously runs a very successful team. So try to jump on that. And if you guys are all set, I will let you go. Enjoy your Friday.
Awesome. Thank you so much for today. It was great.
Of course. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.